Hey everybody, today I'm going to be talking about lining with a mag. Now, lining with a mag isn't so different opposed to lining with a liner. It's just a little bit of a different technique that takes a little bit of practice. So first, I'm going to be showing you me lining with a mag on my client. I'm going to walk you through that and what I do and what I'm thinking. And then second, I'm going to be moving on to some fake skin, and I'm going to be showing you some techniques that I've seen other people use. And then also on the fake skin, I'm going to show you some common mistakes that I think you should avoid if you are going to be lining with a mag.
All right, here's the piece I'm using as an example. It's a thick lined design, and it could be a design that I would have used a super thick round shader or liner to go back and forth with to fill in, and I've totally done that in the past with stuff like this, but I find that that causes more damage to the skin, and the whole point of this is causing little damage to the skin. So right now I have my mag tilted to the side, so I'm only using the corner needle or two in the grouping just to basically etch in my stencil. I'm not trying to blast in any type of crazy solid lines. I'm basically just using this as a placeholder until I can come back and fill in the design with solid black. Doing this, you want to make sure that you are very exact. So you want to make sure that you take your time, and once you're done, you can come back with your mag just like this, the way that it was intended to be used to fill solid color. So we're blasting in the black here, and we're going to make it look like I made this line with a massive liner. Now obviously you want to make sure that you don't beat up the skin when you're doing this, that you're careful to make sure that your saturation is solid to pull off this effect. So now you can see that it's starting to look like a giant liner did this. Now this is just a different look throughout the design, and I'm going around making sure all the edges are nice and crispy before I come back and fill back in with more of the mag. Now I'm going to show you on the fake skin a little bit of what not to do when you're doing this method. You can definitely cut your client while you're doing this if you're not careful, if you're using the mag in a wrong way. Also, what I'm going to show you up next is how people use mags to pull really thick lines without doing this outline method. They'll basically use it as a giant calligraphy brush. So here we go. Up next, that's what I'm going to talk about.
All right, now moving on to our fake skin, we're going to do a couple things on here. Over here, we're going to be using the Ava EP10. I'm going to have a full review out on that in a couple weeks. I also will have a discount code, I believe, for you guys. And then the couple different mags that we're going to be using is a 5-round mag, an 11-round mag, a 15-round mag, and then a 49-round mag. And come to think of it, I am going to have to pour a different ink cup because that will not fit that. So we're going to start out with the 5 mag and move our way up. And as you can see, we have the skin taped down because it likes to wiggle away for some reason. I'm not a big fan of this real skin. I like pound of flesh better than real skin for sure. So there's going to be 2 different ways I'm going to show you with each mag. First, I'm going to go like this and just pull a straight line like that. And I'm also going to pull a straight line with it slanted a little bit so all the needles are kind of stacked on top of one another. All right, so now as you can see, the one that I pulled just straight with all the needles, there is a little bit of a gap in between each one just because that's how the mag is stacked. The one that I turned the needles a little bit and drug them, so in that way the needles were kind of behind each other, that's a darker line just because the needles were closer together. But there is a little bit of a division in between. You can always go back over that one time to make it a little bit darker, but as you can see, there definitely is a clear difference. Now moving on to the 11-round mag. Next, we'll do the 15 mag. I'm going to move through this one, and then the 49 mag, and then we'll talk about all of them. All right, so there's a couple different things that you're going to notice here between these 2 different methods of tattooing. So when you're lining with the mag just straight down to where all the needles are going to be parallel like this, you can see first of all that any type of shake or anything like that is very apparent. Like in here, and here, and here, and in this one I actually did mess up a little bit. But that method, you have to be very sure of what you're doing if you're just going straight down, because if you're just going to be leaving them as all parallel lines like that, you have to make sure that they're very exact. I actually did my best job with the largest mag there. Not only that, that method is lighter in each case. The second thing to notice is when you turn your mag like this to drag a line, when the needles are all stacked on top of each other, you can notice any different type of pressure change, much more than you can with the other method. Now this becomes more apparent as the grouping gets bigger. As you can see, the most pressure was applied here, and then I lightened up a bit, and then applied a little bit more pressure here, and then evened out around here. My pattern is the same, to where it's dark, gets a little lighter, and then gets dark again, and then I even out. Same thing here, and same thing here. But it gets less apparent as the grouping gets smaller. But both of these methods are definitely something that you're able to use in tattooing, and they are super useful, and you can pull off a lot of really cool effects. Say you're doing calligraphy, or you just want to be pulling really thick lines. All right, now moving on to some mistakes that I would avoid. So the first mistake I had already mentioned, with the pressure going back and forth, you're able to notice it. That's something that you want to look out for. You want to make sure that it's consistent pressure all the way through to get a consistent line. And the second mistake I want to talk about, I mentioned in the first part of the video, I just want to expand on it a little bit more. I mentioned that you want to just be using the edge of your needle grouping to line. I didn't want to demonstrate on my client because I didn't want to hurt him, but I'm going to demonstrate it to you now. So first I'll do it the right way, and then I'll do it the wrong way. Okay, so here's the right way, here's the wrong way. The right way I was talking about earlier, how you use the corner of your mag and basically just etch in your stencil, so in that way you can come back later and fill it in with black or do shading off of it or whatever. You're not really trying to get super solid lines with the edge of your mag usually. I mean, unless you're doing like fur or something like that, and then in that case you do want to make sure you're really getting it into the skin. But the way I use it is more like a placeholder. This way, the wrong way, I was going here and I was using all of the needles sideways, so in that way you're able to see the actual grouping. This is the top of the grouping and this is the bottom. The way that the needles are stacked on top of each other, there are two rows, so in that way you're able to see that in the actual skin. So this is the number one no-no when you're lining with a mag, not only because you're able to see that double line, but also when you're running your mag like this, all those needles are right behind each other. So you're gonna end up cutting your client, and that is not good. You definitely don't want to cut your client. You just want to put in the ink efficiently without doing a ton of damage to your client's skin. All right, so that is it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever you want to say, leave them down in the comments. If not, I hope this video is helpful to you, and I hope that you have a good day.